Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Construction Technology Podcast. I'm here with my co-hosts. I have Mike from Build Vision, Andrew from Join, and myself, Luigi from Provision. We're joined by Elliot Christensen from Cleveland Construction. Morning, Elliot. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Thanks so much for joining us. Very excited for the conversation. Cleveland Construction has made a fantastic name for themselves, and so have you, Elliot, being an innovator in this space, being very warm and embracing towards innovative companies and startups. And would love to understand, briefly about yourself, Cleveland, and then we'll go into a bunch of questions around how Cleveland is interacting with startups and what your view of the industry is.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Elliot Christensen, Senior Vice President of Operations at Cleveland Construction. Been here for 18 years. We're a national GC working predominantly on the eastern half of the United States, but starting to go further west for certain clients. We really try to embrace technology here over the last 3 or 4 years, knowing that, with the labor shortages and issues that we have, that's probably going to be something that differentiates us from other people. And knowing that with some of the newer talent coming out of college, it's really something that they're expecting to be exposed to, and it's helping in the recruiting area.
Yeah, very interesting. Every time I talk to a contractor, like we sell pre-construction solutions mainly, there's like the typical response is like, this is good, I want to win more work, but I actually don't have enough labor to deliver it. And it does seem like it's probably like the number one problem for people. I'm curious, Andrew, if actually you see something similar when you're talking to firms.
Yeah, I mean, the labor shortage is the number one. We're at Join because we think that the world deserves, more and better buildings, but it's sort of funny that it's like, entitlements are the biggest barrier to like development, and the labor shortage is, the biggest issue in the construction industry. And we're sort of tangential to both of those. But like, yeah, no, I'd 100% agree. I mean, we see people addressing this a number of ways. Like one is efficiency, one is like relationships with trades. The other one that we're seeing, and I don't know if Cleveland is looking at this, but is more folks looking to bring on expanded craft workforces as parts of a general contractor, so to take on both more self-performed scopes and to then apply them across a greater fraction of the portfolio.
Yeah, we actually have a really large self-performed division that does interior trades, it almost does drywall, acoustic ceilings, carpentry. We don't work together very often. They do scopes of work like that package on projects that are sometimes bigger than what our whole GC package could be on the jobs that we do. But we are starting to look at, can we self-perform some of that Division 8, Division 10 type install packages on our jobs that are repeatable, because we do a lot of retail, hospitality, multifamily, where those packages are very similar every time. Could we put together a traveling crew that could go job to job and make that a profit center for us on projects, and kind of make it where we can control something towards the end of the project to help with the schedule?
What are sort of
Mike
some
has
of
been,
the
sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
So I was just going to ask one follow up. Like, how's that going? Like, what are some of the things you're learning as you look at that? Some of the things that might make it straightforward, might make it hard. I'm just super curious.
So it's hard. We haven't done it yet. It's just something we've been talking about. The hard part is with the uncertainty in construction starts, it's still going on. If you don't have a steady stream of work where that crew can stay busy, what do you do with them between jobs?
Mhm.
How do you accurately staff it so that you have enough guys to stay on schedule on the one job, but not so many guys that you get done early and then all of a sudden you don't have anything to do for 2 months. And then, I mean, that's really the big issue. But then you don't want to sub it out to where you're constantly using different crews, because then you lose that repeatability aspect and the knowledge of, you're constantly doing the same types of hotels or the same types of apartment buildings. And then you lose that knowledge of going job to job, or you're gaining that efficiency.
I was just gonna chime in and say, Mike has been a very like loud proponent of decreasing CM fee as companies vertically integrate and do more, give more opportunities to make more margin. What's your view on that specifically? What's your view on where CM fees are going? And obviously, vertical integration is something that you're now prioritizing. What else would you do if you agreed that CM fees were going to be reducing over time?
Yeah, it seems like they go down every year. And I think design build is really where the industry is going to go. The GCs are going to take the majority of the risk on the jobs. And I do think on those projects, it does lend itself to a better collaboration between the GC and the design team. because you're all on the same side of the fence and you're all at the same goal of getting the project as efficient as possible for the client. The old model of design bid build is slowly going away. I think the only place that really uses it all the time is still the public sector, and it really sets you up to have this like triangular fight between the owner, the architect, and the GC that just nobody likes to talk about. And you get that finger pointing between the GC pointing at the architect says the drawings suck. The architect pointing at the GC said you should have asked earlier. You should have had it in your bid because the contract says you looked at everything before you bid the job. You have that like catch-all clause, and then the owner just doesn't want to pay either side because they feel like they already bought it with one of them, and it's just not good for the project. So I think the design build piece is I think what will win out and create the best fee for the GC. The architects will still get the same fees that they're getting now, and the owner will get the best product in the long run.
So do you think there is a world where, like, one of the challenges that we're seeing is there's been a lot of there's a lot of push in the AE space to try to like optimize their process and get more information earlier, but they're kind of like disincentivized to do that because of how their billable structure is. Like for them to review 7 RFIs or 7 submittals on different product lines, it kind of defeats the purpose. Are you seeing creative ways where like AE firms are actually like partnering earlier, changing their fee structures, or is it still pretty billable hours for them?
I haven't seen a lot of change on the fee structure side because I haven't been exposed to like how they're doing that. But I have seen a lot more collaboration with the A&E firms where they're asking a lot more questions up front. And it's probably before they're actually like getting things into the drawings and into the specs to where it's a little more concrete and harder for them to change. Because
Yeah,
before it's on paper, I guess, or in a model, they're a lot more flexible. Once the model's going, it's infinitely harder to change it because of everything that it affects.
right.
So I think they're looking at it as if they have that VE item sooner and they know about it sooner, they have a much better chance of, maintaining the value, their fee than they do if they have to swap it out.
Yeah. One of the things I've always struggled with is this idea of like reading either like reading the drawings or like understand or like doing takeoff. Like like the engineer architect theoretically knows how many doors are in a building, how many grills, diffusers are in a building, and they compress it into a 2D document. And now there's all these tools around here that are like, hey, we can do X, Y, and Z. In a design build world, does that barrier break earlier because there's more incentive for an AE firm to say there's 7 doors on a drawing? Or does that still not change and there's still kind of this back and forth?
And don't you think in a perfect world that as the design build process goes, that you should just have a table of to give to the door and hardware supplier that says, "Hey, this is what you're bidding." And then you have a table you give to the concrete guy that says there's this much square feet of this type of concrete. You give the drywall guy, hey, there's this many lineal feet of this type of wall type. I mean, you really feel like that's what you should be able to do as technology. I mean, technology's there. It's there to do it. We just don't for whatever reason. But down the road, you'd think,
Like the owner is paying so like, all right, you're a GC, you go to 7 subs, 7 mechanical subs, those 7 mechanical subs go to 10 reps, and every one of those users is doing a takeoff when the owner is paying for it. So it's frustrating and fascinating that like that happens. And I know there's like legalese of architect engineers not want to take the
it,
risk.
it's the risk. It's the contracting method of the owner passing the risk onto the GC and the GC passing the risk onto the sub and the sub passing the risk onto the suppliers. It's just everybody's used to shedding risk, and if we get to the point one day where the contract method's a little bit different, and in that design build method, maybe the risk is shed in a different way where they're willing to give takeoffs back. And it probably speeds up pricing. It speeds up the start of construction. It speeds up change order pricing. It speeds up a lot of things.
That's the EU kind of operates like that, which is interesting. It's a lot more like kind of open book. Like, hey, what's the cost for 7 doors plus labor? So it's interesting. Like that was the whole pitch with BIM, in the 90s.
Mm.
They have this open source, not open source, but a kind of open model where people actually know exactly what's going on. It's one of the reasons why Autodesk is very, very successful in the EU and in the EMEA market, because they do that, and Procore has struggled because of that.
The government's gonna have to step in and say, owners, you shall, well, at least publicly funded,
The government.
government's going to have to say you shall share your BIM models, which is what they did in some parts of the EU. In Sweden, I believe, or no, I'm thinking of I think I might be thinking of like Norway or Finland. But they're mandated to share their BIM models to general contractors. And I think like they resolve liability in some way. Maybe they just make sure it's super super correct, so nobody's suing them all the time. But I do think it produces a more efficient ecosystem. It
Yeah,
just won't happen because of liability.
and the
Mike,
technology is there to do all this. And we've just, in the United States, we've never truly got the total benefit of BIM in construction because of the shedding of risk.
Mike, you're close to manufacturers. Do they view the takeoffs as proprietary at all?
No.
Okay, because like one idea that I forget who told it to me was that like all these drawings are floating around and all these people are counting all the same things on it. I mean, I actually think there's a little more nuance to it and people take off the way they're going to build and there is maybe some difference in there for some people, but that you could just have everyone publish their takeoffs. They're like, hey, I've got a sheet. I can see what takeoffs are out there. And the general contractor
Yeah.
can just publish that and say like, hey, this is what we found. Like not
I
necessarily
mean,
like
some
embedded.
GCs do that. Like some
Yeah.
GCs will do that with like bid forms, things like that. Like what we would pitch a lot of the larger general contractors would have very, very like firm bid forms that they would send out, like Turner does, and they say, hey, we're doing, what's your price on a GMP for 10,000 linear feet of ductwork?
Yeah.
You kind of get everybody in the same bucket. It's also like a gut check for that mechanical estimator that's sitting at Turner to say like, hey, I got 10,000 linear feet and I got quotes back from 3 subs and it was 11, 12, 100,000 linear feet. But again, that's like that, like what Elliot's talking, that's like I got shift at risk where it's a different type of contract where like you are kind of already partnering with the subcontractor. Like on a large hospital project, you kind of know the subcontractor you're going to work with. So you are very much like on the same page with them very, very early on because like a mechanical sub could make or break a hospital. So you're not trying to like take advantage of the guy to try to squeeze out a 10% fee on him, right? Like you're like, this is so it's just a different contract structure. And that's why GMPs have been successful when you really partner with the companies early on. But to go back to your point, Andrew, internally we've thought about. I mean, we're just doing takeoffs on mechanical, electrical equipment. So we're doing like we're not doing duct runs, we're not doing conduit runs, but we will start just pushing those out to the network. So we'll have like Build Vision verified GRD takeoffs as an example. Should be like trust but verify through that loop to be able to kind of push out to the market. Kind of like there's not really a competitive. You quoting 17 GRDs as opposed to 18 GRDs isn't going to make or break your quote. It kind of just helps both sides of the market.
Elliot, do you share your quantities with subs?
So I don't work in our estimating department. We have a different division that does that. I get the jobs after the contract signed.
Sorry, yeah, I mean Cleveland as a process, just for fostering that type of subcontractor kind of trust relationship. I know some GCs do this.
It, it depends on the project that they're working on. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. It just depends. If we're going in a project that we've done pre-con on for a long time and we know we already have the job, they will share. Like if they've done a door and hardware takeoff and they know there's 1,000 openings and we're getting quotes that are all over the place, they'll go in and say, hey guys, you got your takeoffs are off. There's X openings on the job. You guys need to go back and get it again. They'll do things like that. Or with the site contractors, if one guy's coming in and says that, hey, it's a net import site, another guy's saying it's a net export site, they'll go back and tell them one of them's wrong, or say, hey, you're both wrong. It needs to balance. So they'll do stuff like that. We don't necessarily go through and do a full takeoff on a given scope and then send that out as a bid.
Yeah, very laborious. Also, it depends on lump sum. It runs counter to your incentives, where you want to be the cheapest, you want to win the job. Hey, your fee is good. Your subs, well, they did whatever they did whatever they did. It's not my responsibility. Cleveland's been very interesting. Obviously, both working with Cleveland and listening to the news. Autodesk mentioned Cleveland in an earnings call as being a great example of a migration from Procore. You've been a very vocal supporter of Autodesk. I see there's been some press around the Autodesk Cleveland construction relationship. A few things to know about Procore. Obviously, they were the incumbent. They still are the incumbent on product management system or product management information systems. The stock's down 50%. Comparatively, Autodesk is down somewhere like 38 over the last 5 months. Can you give us some insight into how that transition took place and what the impetus was for Cleveland?
Yeah. I'll start with, we didn't leave Procore because we had a product issue. I still think they have a good product. We left because of dollars and cents. And we're a general contractor. We just talked about fees and how we have to scrape everything we can to make the fee that we're looking for. And anytime we have an opportunity to evaluate an overhead cost and reduce it, we're going to do that. We had Procore for 10 years, and over the course of those 10 years, the cost of Procore went up considerably. So at the end of those 10 years, we told them we were going to evaluate the price, and we did, and Autodesk got an opportunity to look at it. And when they looked at it and we did a demo to them of how we utilized Procore, they demoed Autodesk back to us to kind of give us what the equivalent would be of utilizing their system. And I was pretty blown away with how equal it was, because I knew a couple years earlier it wasn't on par. That opened it up to demoing it to a larger audience internally, and we got no pushback internally from going further into a RFP stage. And when we got numbers back, we were kind of blown away with the savings. And over a 6-year period, we looked at it over like a 2 contract period, so 6 years. It was going to be over $500,000 savings. So it was kind of a no-brainer on our end to move forward with the change. And we're, call it, 18 months into that, and with very, very little pushback internally from the majority of the people that are the power users, superintendents, project managers, assistant level people. We're fully rolled out. The only jobs left in Procore are in warranty, and we'll be fully off of Procore this November, and we're just full steam ahead.
So it's just so I understand. So that was 500K in savings over 6 years, or is that 500K per year?
500K in savings over 6 years.
Over 6 years. Okay, understood.
And we looked at it. And we looked at it in 6 years because we assumed the first year we're going to have a lot of inefficiency from we're going to have implementation costs. We're going to have costs we're paying for Procore and Autodesk. We're going to have training costs. We're going to have people that are less efficient because they're learning it. And then we kind of looked at it over 2 contract periods, 2 3-year contracts.
I see. Has the team complained about any difference in functionality, or do you view the products as effectively similar now and it's just only about price?
So we got some complaints. Like, one of them was the Autodesk Photos tool didn't support albums. So everything uploaded into what effectively is a timeline view in Procore. But within 4 or 5 months of having Autodesk, they rolled out a beta where it would support albums. And then I think recently, all of your new projects start with the ability to have albums. And I think here within the next couple months, they're going to retroactively make it so that all of your projects have albums. So that complaint goes away. And there's other minor complaints like that, but it's not, they're addressing most of them. The big one is the way the members tool works in Autodesk versus the directory in Procore. They wish that the members tool worked more like the Procore directory, where you could use it more as a contact list. But it's things like that. It's not necessarily a core functionality feature.
I see. Okay, so these are actually very minor complaints, nothing that's actually impacting job productivity. Okay, so very, very similar products. And what has that savings enabled? Oh, sorry, Andrew, you had a question before I moved.
Yeah, just if you fast forward to 2 renewal periods, this is fascinating, right? What gets you to stay? It's 6 years from now, what gets you to renew again with Autodesk? Because Autodesk, I mean, Mike, you did this when you were at Autodesk. Autodesk is attempting to break into the construction market. They have this long-standing established AEC business that has achieved near monopoly status in many sectors, throws off a ton of cash, and they're able to use that to fund the pretty remarkable product development that you saw in the changes in the product over the course of a couple of years. But they're going to want to get paid. They're a highly profitable, public company, and 3 years from now or 6 years from now, I imagine that they're going to be looking to add to that price. And so, is it what happens then? What makes Cleveland say yep, we'll pay more, and we'll re-up? Or is it 6 years from now the expectation is we'll do another RFP and sort of our organization can sustain turning over product management tools once every 6 months, and sort of that's the timeline on which the like cost of change and reimplementation and retraining people is worth it. And so we'll be able to have the market bid against itself to establish a like a price that lowers over time for this software.
Well, so we had a really good partner, Autodesk partner reseller that helped us negotiate our contract with Autodesk. We got some protections on the contract going from year 3 to year 4, because we had learned in our contracts with Procore that that jump from the 3-year contract to the next contract, we had got hit with some huge increases. So we've got some assurances that there will be a maximum increase that we'll get hit with. So we have that protection in the first change. So the hope would be that we have that same protection going into the next contract. Now, take that away, maybe there would be a reason to go look at it again. It's hard to say 6 years down the road what's out there. Who knows? There could be a whole new player in the market at that point, with the speed of technology. But I think if Autodesk continues to improve the product at the pace that they're improving it, I think there's a really good chance that we would stay, even if it was more expensive, because the functionality keeps getting better. I think one of the disappointing things that we had with Procore was at the very beginning when we had it in 2015, call it till 2020, that first 5-year run, there was a ton of improvements rolling out constantly. I mean, it seemed like every couple of months there was a huge new feature release, and it wasn't small things, it was big things. But in that last 5 years, they totally shifted their focus from the domestic market to the international market. And there were very little key feature releases here. And it's like that product just kind of stayed stagnant. Now I know it's changed here recently, but it was kind of like we were already on our way out, so I kind of stopped paying attention to it. But there was a very long period of not really a lot of improvement, and I'm hoping Autodesk doesn't go down that same path. I think with the AI changes, I mean, they're rolling out Autodesk Assistant. They're only going to add more stuff to that. They'll either continue to add stuff to that, or they'll do what Autodesk does and add something externally to it to improve it, kind of like what Procore did with the data grid acquisition. But they're going to continue to integrate GC Pay into the Forma ecosystem. So they're going to continue to build out that platform, so it's kind of really one unified platform. And I really think the benefit with Autodesk that we've seen, and I had a call a couple days ago. We're doing a Ritz-Carlton in Savannah, Georgia, and we talked to the architect about integrating our 2 Autodesk platforms, which is something that Autodesk does a lot better than what Procore ever did. I never had architects excited to talk about using our Procore platform. But when I call and talk to an architect about integrating our Autodesk platform with their Autodesk platform, they're always willing to take that phone call. They're always willing to, figure out how to make it easier on them, which in turn makes it easier on us and our teams. And it's funny how fast just changing our platform makes those relationships better. And if we can make our relationship better with our design partners that aren't working for us, it does make it a lot smoother of a process.
This was like when we went to the acquisition, when building got acquired and playing got acquired, like this is the whole bet and play that Autodesk has been playing out. And now they made the Maintain X acquisition, which is the operate pushed. So it is super bullish as contracts start to change and we see more design build, we see architects and engineers get more involved in the process. They're obviously using Revit and AutoCAD already. I am curious to see how like the numbers start to play out over the next couple of years post acquisition. So like 2020, 2021, we were like giving Autodesk Build away for free to customers to try to go after Procore customers. And the reason they could do that is because they make so much money on the Revit and AutoCAD contracts. They're trying to just get market share. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But the whole shift is like, how do you actually maintain the entire management of a building? And again, there's design, there's build, and then there's operate. In Autodesk eyes, which is it's a true statement, 90% of the building value is post-construction, which is the operate side. So it'll be interesting to see how those pieces start to play out. And will they need to increase Autodesk Forma pricing, or will they continue just to provide value add downstream?
Yeah, I don't know how another platform, Procore side, but I don't know how any other platform will ever compete with that, because I don't know how just the design piece. Who else is ever going to compete with the design piece of it?
There are some there are some AI tools that are trying to start to take over. It's tough though. Like when I was a senior in high school, what did you learn? You learned AutoCAD.
Dude, when your dad was a senior in high school, if he took drafting classes, he learned AutoCAD. Like,
I
it,
also learned MicroStation. Okay, MicroStation.
yeah, well, the Canadians and the French, like, yeah,
And AutoCAD.
yeah.
So Elliot, if you were advising the CEO of Procore, the new CEO of Procore, or the board, what direction would you give them to make up the space that you're now perceiving between them and Autodesk?
Yeah, I would really tell them they have to take a look at the way that they approach pricing, specifically with their audits. That's really what did it for us. You know, I'm 100% okay with this, the pay to play mindset. You know, that we actually were really on board with that at the beginning of our contracts with Procore back in 2015. This model of, hey, if we're going to run $150 million through Procore and it's X percentage, we're okay with paying based on that. And if we go over, we're okay with paying more. But if you're going to charge us more for going over, then you better give us a credit for using less. And what happened was in 2019, we got a project that we weren't expecting to get, and it was a large $125 million high school that we bid a public job in Virginia, and we got it at right at the end of the year, literally a month after we signed a new 3-year contract with Procore. And in the following year, we went significantly over our revenue, like $80 million over. Of course, we got audited. We paid a huge overage, like, I don't know, $60,000 over or something like that, and got charged market rate. Didn't get charged our whatever our cost per million was in our contract, got charged market rate. So we paid it. Next year comes around, and first year COVID kind of really affected the construction industry with starts, and we had a bunch of projects that pushed.
Hmm.
And so our revenue was way down, and coincidentally down by roughly the same amount that we were over the year before. And so I go back to him and I say, so what can we do about what we're under this year? And it's year 2 of our contract. It's, well, nothing. That's not how the model works. So it became really apparent that relationship was very one-sided. And same thing happened in year 3. We were under it again. And that year 2 is when I told them we will be shopping it at the end of year 3. We'll be looking for another partner. And I had no issues with the product. I had no issues with, like, our customer success manager is great. He did a great job for us. Actually, all of the Procore people that we worked with on the customer success side were all fantastic. If I could have taken our last customer success manager with us, I would have. He was that good. Yeah, and he I mean, I would love to bring him on board here to run our technology at our company. It's just too bad he lives in Texas. But he was really good to us, and that's what I would tell them to do. You got to look at how you treat your customers from a dollars and cents standpoint, and you got to be fair both ways. And Autodesk it's you guys agree on a dollar amount, and that's the dollar amount. And we go in at 150 million, and if we go way over, we go way over. If we go way under, we go way under. And you reevaluate it at the end of 3 years, and you go into the next contract. It's fair both ways.
I was curious. So like I've talked to the leadership team at Procore, and they're like, they've obviously hit $1 billion in revenue, and they're trying to figure out where do they find their next billion in revenue to scale. You on the other side, what would you tell them? Like, how would you say, like, hey, where can you provide value where that price increase actually makes sense? So I think that's a struggle that they're having. They've IPO'd, and like they're looking at the market. They had 80% of the general contractors for a while. And they were like, oh yeah, we charge bips on construction volume. Construction volume goes up, and they have this story to the market. If you were on the other side, what would you do differently?
Well, you start with, so if we want to grow our company, we start with repeat work. We don't want to always have to go out and find new business, because it's incredibly difficult to find new customers.
Yeah.
And the sales cycle on new customers is a lot longer than the sales cycle on a current customer. So don't lose your current customers first. That would be the first model, because then you have to make up for it. And then I would continue to improve the product so that people want to continue to buy new services. But the a la carte method really is unattractive to me. I like the model Autodesk has, where with build, you have all of it. You have cost, you have build, you have the data management, you have the analytics, you have all of that in one package. So you might as well use it all. You mean there's no reason to not connect it to your ERP because you have the cost management tool, you have everything. And so there's more of a reason to completely embed your company in the full system because you have access to all of it. With Procore, you might have a company only get the project management side and not get the financial side because it's extra. If you have a fully bundled package where you have all of it, you're going to try financials. Why wouldn't you? And then once you integrate that with your ERP, you're so intertwined, it's that much more difficult to move. I mean, it was incredibly difficult for us to unwind projects that were integrated with our ERP and reconnect them through a different integrator because we went from HH2 to Agave, and then HH2 integrated from Sage to Procore to Agave integrated from Sage to Autodesk on projects that were midstream. Not everybody's going to be willing to do that, and you start getting them embedded with your full product line. Yeah, you're not gonna lose people. And it's going to be more attractive when you go into a new customer and you say, hey, for this price, you get all of this. It's not for this portion of the price, you get this package. For this portion of the price, you get this package. And then you have 6 a la carte items.
Yeah.
So what
I think
about
it just go ahead,
what
Andrew.
about the one of the things Mike likes to talk about on LinkedIn is the declining CM fee and how all of what we're talking about here is getting paid for out of the CM fee that is declining over time. And so there's just unrelenting pressure to do more for less to the technology vendors there. Are there things that you see that technology companies could do that would either, markedly improve exit margin in some way or would help top line of the business?
A big thing we look for is we can't have a bunch of point solutions. We have to have things that like that solve multiple problems. If we're looking at something that only solves one issue, we probably aren't going to get it because we can't afford it. Everything has a price and nothing's cheap anymore. You've got to solve multiple problems and you got to solve multiple problems really well. There used to be a pick a problem and be really good at solving it and just do that really, really well. And now you almost have to pick 3 or 4 problems and solve all of those problems and solve all of those problems really, really well. And some of the best technology companies that I've seen have really experienced construction people like that were in the industry for, 15, 20, 25 years that really know the business and really know the real reasons behind the problems and really embedded within the technology company, and they're really steering the company in the right direction. And some of the companies that don't do as well don't have that, and they're selling it and steering the company based on what they're hearing from people in the industry, not necessarily somebody that actually lived it, if that makes sense. And I think the more you can
Yeah,
do.
that's fair. Like, the way I think about that is, like, CM fee versus exit margin, where this is my, litmus test for investors who claim to understand the industry. It's like, what's a GC's typical margin? And they'll say, well, the CM fee is 2 to 3%. That's not the answer, right? Like, the answer is substantially higher, and there's all sorts of different things that drive that margin higher. But just, like, a lot of that people don't necessarily talk about that on the first meeting.
So Elliot, you're obviously a very vocal supporter of Trunk Tools. I know you've been a champion of the company. Is Cleveland also doing? Well, this is a two-part question. One, what is the state of your kind of internal innovation group right now? Are you evaluating many solutions and doing a lot of pilots, as a lot of construction companies are doing, or have you said, "Hey, no, we've chosen a horse. We want to do everything with them"? And then two, what are your comments generally on tech companies that are trying to win work with Cleveland?
So right now, and obviously we're 100% in on Autodesk. We just recently signed our enterprise deal with Trunk Tools, so we're 100% in on them. We're rolling them out on all new projects, and we've kind of retroactively rolled them out on projects that have any type of significant time period left on the job. We really think that their drawing review agent, their submittal review agent, their RFI agent, there's some tangible ROI metrics that you can get to with those agents. And when we did some demos internally and we had it rolled out on a couple projects and we let those PMs and those superintendents talk to the rest of the teams, people were asking for it on their projects. And we don't get a lot of, especially our older superintendents and PMs, we don't get a lot of them asking for new technology. They kind of want left alone. So when you get those guys asking for stuff, you're onto something. We're in 100% with OpenSpace. I know they've got some new AI stuff coming out, so we're waiting to see what they do with automating issues that'll push into Autodesk from site walks and things like that, where you can just talk right into your phone and digitize getting the issues created. So we're really into those. Are our three main platforms. I mean, we're in the process right now of rolling Breadcrumb out company-wide from a safety standpoint. So those are our kind of core four. And from an experiential standpoint, we use Box as well, and they have Box AI, which has the ability to create custom agents on our own. And all of our Autodesk jobs sync all of the data back to Box from an archive standpoint anyways, just in case anything ever happens. And we can build our own Box agents. And then, so that from an experiential standpoint, we are building our own Box agents there internally to see different use cases that we can come up with from a scope writing, bid package writing, bid leveling, safety evaluations, quality control evaluations, auditing of forms and daily reports, stuff like that. And what's nice about Box is you can use different models. You can switch them in and out. So all the different OpenAI models, Claude models, IBM, Google Gemini, and you can just switch your agent anytime you want to see which one works better with the different scenarios that you're trying to run. And it really helps internally. Now, I will tell you the new Claude models seem to be really, really good on most of the applications that we're trying to run. And it's been good. So I think those are kind of the core that we're sticking with right now. I've got a couple products that I'd love to do pilots with, Hardline being one of them. And I just have to get a couple people internally on board with doing another pilot. But I know internally I think we're pretty tapped for pilots at the moment. We've done a lot in the last 18 months, and I think our project teams are probably ready for me to take a break and let them get used to what they're using and get really good at all of it. But I think Hardline is something that, especially from a field standpoint, being able to just take phone calls and have it digitize your to-do list and like what was important on those phone calls, I think it's something that our superintendents would find extreme value in. But I think, other than that, I don't see us doing any additional pilots this year.
When you think about using Box AI, how are you controlling like token spend? Are you concerned at all of like runaway cost?
That's what's beautiful about it is with our enterprise agreement with Box, there is no additional cost with it. So
Let the tokens burn,
that's
baby.
right.
Yeah, I hope you sign that contract with as long a term as they would give you.
That's right. And that's why Box was such a great partner for this, like dip your toe in the water with AI
Jeez.
and kind of see what we could do with it. It was the first one we tried because it was a locked in price. We knew what it was. We could try some different agents. If it goes really well, maybe we will look at going OpenAI or Claude Direct sometime. But Box AI was a really good first start because one, all our data is already in it. We
Yeah.
know all our data is secure because it only stays within Box. It's not going out somewhere on the internet where we don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
And yeah, the cost is capped. So it was kind of best of all worlds.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've had a lot of the customers we work with are like signing up for Anthropic subscriptions and slowly seeing their Anthropic bills get to, $2, $3, $10,000 a month. And they're like, what was the ROI on this that we, vibe coded a way to create a proposal generator or something. So that's awesome that you're able to lock that in.
I don't think that our ownership group probably gives our IT director enough credit for having the foresight to know that was a good way to jump in, knowing that price was capped.
For sure.
So one of the, it's interesting, like you're actually exploring what we think of as or you're implementing two different models. Like one that we think of and that we adopt and that we think a lot of our customers are moving towards is sort of a horizontal tool where you bring your data and you can plug and play models and like plug and play agents on top of it. That's like the Box way. And then you're also rolling trunk tools, you have an enterprise agreement. I imagine that costs substantially more than whatever the Box subscription, the incremental cost of a Box subscription of adding an AI agent there, because apparently that's zero, which is awesome. Box stuff might not be very good at drawings yet, but you mentioned RFIs. I got to imagine you could put together something there leaning on Claude. And so what's the unique about trunk tools that says like, oh, we want to solve these problems with trunk tools rather than this horizontal solution? that on the surface appears to be more cost effective?
So with trunk tools, I mean, they have such better construction context. I mean, the construction industry has its own language. I mean, from an industry terminology, from acronyms, from just the way people talk about things. I mean, sheetrock and drywall. I mean, sheetrock is drywall, but it's also a brand. The way that the way the RFI tool works, where it's going to, one, search to see if the answer was already in the drawings, and then two, write the RFI if it's not, suck in all of the pertinent attachments that you should provide the architect when it's not, so that you can get the best answer, and then also push that RFI directly into Autodesk as a draft and put it in your workflow to get answer. I mean, we're not going to be able to do that with Box. So there's tangible time savings for our teams. The submittal tool, it is auto detecting submittals, and we actually have a custom build out with them where we have a service account we put in the workflow in Autodesk. So when we assign a submittal to the sub, the next step in the workflow in Autodesk is this trunk tool service account. And then it writes to trunk tools and then writes back to Autodesk the review, but we get a table of everything that's compliant, not compliant, or partially compliant. And then it assigns it to our assistant project manager. But we're not gonna be able to build that in Box, where it's auto detecting something. That those agents don't quite work that way. It's still gonna be a manual pool. And then the drawing review tool, Box just isn't there. The drawings are there, but it's not able to read the drawings the way that Trunk Tools is. And Trunk Tools has got Trunk Browse coming out. It's in beta right now. I just saw a demo yesterday for the first time. And it's basically 2D BIM modeling with information, where you can click on a door opening and it brings up all the properties of the door opening, pulls submittal
Like inertia.
information, pulls RFIs that are associated with it, pulls like if there's issues with the door. And we won't be able to get to stuff like that within Box. And I think where Trunk Tools is going is so much further ahead of what we could build ourselves, that it's really, really good for our project teams. And it's making our project teams a lot more efficient and a lot faster than what we could do internally.
Cool. So if I reflect that back, I'm hearing some stuff about sort of drawing intelligence the Box doesn't have, but then sort of care and craft around the workflow integration, where, like, yeah, it has intelligence, but then it goes to all the right places and it pulls information from all the right places. And so it's very easy for people to adopt and use.
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah, and it goes back to that kind of like meeting our teams where they're working. Box is a separate system. You're going to have to go to a separate system. Trunk Tools, you don't necessarily need to do that.
Because you access it through Forma or through Autodesk or whatever.
So the submittals, you don't have to do anything. It's going to bring it right back into Forma for you. For the other things, you will have to go into another system, but it's auto pulling that information for you. With Box, you're going into Box for everything, and then our agents are created in Box. And quite honestly, I have to create the agents, so it depends a lot on my time to be able to do it. And Trunk Tools, I mean, they have really good customer support. They'll meet with our teams weekly, individually, like the individual teams. They'll meet with all of them weekly or biweekly, whatever our teams want, to make sure that they're using it as much as they can. It's a really good service they provide to make sure we're getting the best usage that we can. And I think that what they're going to build with their product over the next 3 years while we're in this enterprise agreement is something that we'll never be able to keep up with Box.
Do you think, so 3-year commitment, that's awesome. Do you think Autodesk would keep up with it? Like, how do you, because Autodesk is investing in their AI stuff. They're already where much of the data that you're talking about lives, all the RFIs, all the drawings. There's a lot of stuff in Autodesk, and then it's where a lot of the workflows that happen on top of it that you want it to integrate with. Do you think Autodesk is going to show, like 3 years from now, Autodesk will show up and say, hey, our AI is good now, like, here, cross another vendor off the list? Or
Well, I mean, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'd love to, one of the things that we want to do is kind of keep, like I said, I'd love to not have point solutions. We have access. That's, again, back to the beauty of the Autodesk pricing model. We have access to their agent or to their AI assistant right now, so our guys can use it. So we can kind of keep tabs on where it is versus what Trunk Tools provide. And if down the road it's an equal, by all means, we would go to that. And because it has access to all the data all the time. But
is there a
right
world where
now,
you could see? going the other way? Like, could you imagine going the other way and saying, like, actually, this trunk browse thing is pretty good. Like, maybe we'll move the center of gravity of project management from Autodesk to trunk tools or something like that?
Yeah, and nobody goes into Autodesk anymore. It's your agents, right?
You never know. I mean, 3 years from now, technology could be considerably different than it is today. I think the speed at which things are changing today versus where it was, even 2, 3 years ago is so incredible what these technology companies are doing. And you really, your guess, you, I've asked people to build things out, things that I thought would normally take like, yeah, maybe we'll see this by the end of our contract. And we, like 3 weeks later, they're like, yeah, hey, you want to see a demo? And it's quite incredible. So I have a hard time guessing what trunk tools could do or Autodesk could do if they really actually put some resources behind it.
You got a post, Elliot. I have a prediction that probably sounds more radical than it is. Future construction project manager will not manage paperwork; they'll manage agents. I think you posted this a few weeks ago. If that's true, like we manage agents at Provision, we still go within Google Drive, but we are not going into the repo as much. We're not going into our logging as much, right? Like our agents will do this if there's an issue. Do you see a world where you're not actually going into Autodesk Forma?
I think down the road, I mean, who knows how far down the road, but I think down the road one day, yeah, I think you can, you go home one night and you say, okay, in the morning or overnight, run all these agents. And when you come in the morning, you're going to have a list of things that you need to look at, and it's going to prioritize it for you. It's going to tell you, hey, these submittals need your review. These submittals are ready to go to the architect. You just need to put your stamp on them. These emails need replied to. These RFIs need a final look before they go whichever direction they need to go. This pricing's all compiled for you. I really do think at some point down the road that kind of stuff could happen. And the scary thing is I don't necessarily know that we're all that far away from that with some of the models that are out there.
Well, it's true. I mean, the Claude, both Claude and Codex have browser use. I mean, you probably could spin up a proof of concept where you don't have to go into Autodesk Form anymore, but Claude does on a routine. I don't see a lot of people using these tools in construction that much, but it is technically possible today.
But
Does
you gotta
that
go back.
mean that IT departments and customer support and success teams will have to start to deal with agents complaining about clunky UIs and slow feature rollouts?
Probably to refresh
Yes, probably.
issues. Yeah.
I
You need to
can't
get
log
MC
in.
Yeah.
What are some problem areas that you are really excited about where you're not seeing that much attention from startups and incumbents?
Good question. Yeah, I think OpenSpace is really good with like the visual walks and what it offers us. And I think it's one of the best software like implementations that we've done. It's done kind of the most for the money that we've done in a long time. But what it gives us from a national contractor that's based in basically 2 offices that we run GC work out of. What it gives the project management staff and our safety department that's not on site all the time, the visibility into the job site, and then also the history of what happened. But something like that, to be able to take the actual image and look for quality deficiencies in the image and point those out, and then have it be able to like push into issues in Autodesk or observations in Procore, punch list, or whichever tool you decide, and be able to alert people to the problems, I think would be something that would be incredible, because quality control is something that's such a big issue in construction. I think quality control is where safety is like 30 years ago. And I think if somebody could crack that, I think it would be incredible, because with the labor issues, I think quality control is going to continue to be something that's a problem and probably get even more difficult to solve. And if you think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you didn't hear about having like a quality control person on the job site all the time. The craft trades were, just did the work more correctly. So
Mm.
you have now you have a quality control guy that goes behind everybody and checks it, and we still have things that get missed. So I think as the trades maybe get worse, as labor becomes more of an issue, you're going to have more quality control guys. So you're going to have a higher labor increase need. So if you can help digitize some of that, I mean, you've got the robot dogs now. I'm sure at some point we're gonna have drones that can fly inside the building automatically every night. If you can digitize some of that process to do the quality control checks, I think that would be a huge win.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I know we're coming up on time. I think some of the guys have a hard stop. Elliot, are you okay if we do like a rapid fire round of questions?
Go for it.
All right, we'll try and keep it super quick. Most overhyped category in construction tech right now. Don't say you can say join. You can say join or build vision, but not provision.
I was gonna say pre-con because there's so many people trying to slug it down.
Brutal. Build, buy, or partner with tech vendors.
Partner.
One tool you'd rip out of the stack tomorrow if you could.
E-signature.
E-signature. The next category company that you think gets consolidated by a big acquisition from the big project management companies.
An AI solution that integrates with it.
Super broad, not specific.
Yeah.
Okay, finish the sentence. Most construction software fails because
They don't get the field to buy in.
give us the over under. 80% of contractors will be running agents on all job sites within 3 years.
Under.
Okay, bearish on agents. And then last one, what's the best advice you've gotten or would give on buying software in construction?
I would say don't be afraid to take a phone call from a software vendor. I used to avoid it. But don't be afraid to take a phone call because you never know what the solution is going to be or what you could hear. And you might not know you had that problem. But also make sure that you really vet out the solution, talk to other people that are using it. Don't just talk to one person that's using it. Make sure you talk to a couple. And if they're not willing to give you a free pilot, they don't really believe in their software.
That's interesting. I know we're at the Rapid. We don't like giving free pilots because we think that the customer isn't serious about evaluating it unless they'll put money against it. I think we've done $1 pilots as a result. And like we're super happy to do $1 pilots, but we really don't like free pilots because to even introduce it to busy people in the field needs some organizational buy-in, and you don't want to staff a pilot or get going if like the org isn't going to look at it. Like, how do you think about that?
Well, so when I say free pilot, I mean more like if I'm going to do a pilot on one job, and then the goal is obviously to want to go enterprise wide. If I go enterprise wide, I want to credit back for the pilot, something like that. If they're not willing to do something like that, then they don't really believe in their own software, because you should believe that my software will prove out and you will go enterprise wide. So yes, I'm willing to make that bet. So it's been in most of the time, I will say anybody that's ever done that, we've ended up going enterprise wide.
Amazing, super helpful. Mike, Andrew, anything you want to conclude with?
Just to thank you. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Elliot, fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for being so honest and transparent.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we'll end it there. Thanks, everyone.